This is JBM 2K5. Gonna give some overall thoughts on the retirement of Ladainian Tomlinson. He made it official. This is June 2012. The guy was born in 1979. About to turn 33 this week. Signed a one-day contract with the Chargers to retire. Let's start from the beginning. He didn't play running back until his senior year in high school, so that's why he wasn't really heavily recruited from the major colleges. So he accepted a scholarship at TCU. Basically, slowly turned that school around along with Gary Patterson and made it cool to go there. And remember, he would wear that the black face mask and made it look so dope with the purple. Great look. He made that look really good throughout his career. Also, he was traded. Obviously, if you remember back, this was the first draft that I followed from start to finish, was the '01 draft. And everyone was absolutely in love with Michael Vick, and that was the talk. And Michael Vick was going to go to the Chargers. A lot of people forget, when people just think about the Chargers, they think about Eli Manning deal that went out in '04 and they traded for Phillip Rivers. Well, before that, in '01, at the start of the decade, is when they had the first overall pick and they traded down to number 5. And I couldn't believe it. I could still vividly remember the ESPN showing of saying that they traded it. And when you look back on it, all they got was a second-round pick the following year and a third-round pick, and dropped down 5 spots. Nowadays, you pretty much have to trade 2 or 3 first-round picks, or maybe double second-round picks, and including a first-round pick, which is pretty sick. But obviously, the Chargers were really bad in the late '90s and early 2000s, and he went there, so he was obviously forced to go there. They even got Drew Brees in that with the second-round pick. What a great draft. Instead of taking Michael Vick, who has proven that he wasn't durable, and pretty much slacked out throughout the whole 2000s decade. He was worried about being more of a kingpin for dogfighting. And they drafted Drew Brees in the second round. I wanted the Lions to pick Drew Brees in the first round. But what a great draft. A running back and a franchise quarterback. But they gave up on Brees because he had shoulder problems throughout the mid-2000s, so they went with Rivers, obviously. They didn't think he would be a superstar. But anyway, most TDs in a season, NFL record, Ladainian Tomlinson, 2006. This guy was a perennial first overall pick in fantasy drafts. Right when it became popular to be in fantasy, when it became popular for all age groups in the 2000s, this guy was the first one to be a perennial first overall pick, nonstop. Pretty much from '03 to '08, '09 maybe. And then obviously it went downhill from there. Obviously, what happened at the tail end of his Chargers career, he got a PCL. They basically ran him to hell, and he got a PCL sprain or something, and then people thought he was dogging it. And then he always had this once we got to learn him past the face mask, he's kind of like a punk. He isn't the fucking greatest guy, the greatest teammate ever. All he cares about is himself and his family. You could tell that pretty much. So all of his teammates really hated him. Here's a shot of Michael Vick. I forgot to show this, and them being traded for each other. And then he went with the stupid face mask. Also, I have this from Sports Illustrated. This was his rookie year. The Bengals and the Chargers faced off. They were 2 of the worst teams. I love this pick. Said he's second in the NFL in rushing his rookie year in October, and he had 107 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. And he didn't even have the face mask on. That's when the Chargers used to wear the all whites too, and they used to have, and the San Diego Padres used to play there, and there used to be a dirt field, so his jersey's half dirty. Oh man, that's a time capsule picture right there. Third most TDs all time. I'm not going to rank him, say he's one of the greatest. Obviously, he is one of the greatest running backs, especially when he was in his prime of all time. No denying that. Emmitt Smith had the longevity. Anyway, then he went to the Jets. Obviously, he had a really good rotational year there in his first year with Sean Green. Then last year it all hit the fan with the Jets. But he really turned the Chargers franchise around. They were really bad. And then they became really bad, then turned it into a really good, really competitive team with that North Turner, Phillip Rivers, Ladainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates. What a combination. Anyway, I gave enough thoughts on this. This was JBM. Sad to see a guy go. It makes me feel old knowing that I followed him. But if you look back at all the drafts and look at all the people that drop, it's NFL, you know. That's a great career for a running back. I'm sure a lot of moron 16-year-olds are saying he retired too early, but can't complain with 11 years and the career that he had. Anyway, this was JBM2K5. Subscribe for more sports videos, discussions.